So the animation team is responsible for not only animating characters and creatures, but also effects, or some of the effects we do for the game. This was a druid regrowth spell that Slim did. So this little guy we created for the StarCraft II Collector's Edition. And this is a good example of the partnership between animation and effects, where the animators will go through and make them look cool, and the effects guys will go in and make it look alive. This little guy, you're all gonna get. This is Deathwing Murky. This is really cool. This is our archaeology pet. So you notice he's Rochambeauing or rock, paper, scissors. When you run into another player in game that has one of these, you'll actually play off against one another and win or lose. So these are the new dances that we did for the Worgen and Goblins. This is the Tolvir. This is a new race that we created for Cataclysm. They're actually a stone skin Titan creation, but this is one of the skins that we did that's more of a flesh or a live version. This is the Etten. It's a giant creature you're going to run into kind of all over the place, but most prominently in Gilneas. So these are the pygmies. I love these little guys. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of them in subsequent expansions, but we're going to see them all over the Starting Goblin experience. Then we have pufferfish that act like pufferfish. Bashir is an enormous new zone, so we created a lot of aquatic sea creatures to fill up the area, like turtles. And I think that's it. So thanks, Steve. Thanks, animation team. On the dungeon.
So I wanted to show you a little behind-the-scenes look at how we create dungeons in our game, World of Warcraft. So let's start off with a screenshot from one of our newer dungeons, Old Doom. So if you were to take away the props, the lighting, the effects, the textures, and then you start to dumb down the shapes, basically what you have left to look at is, well, not that interesting. So how we get from that to this, to the final product, is a process of concepts, ideas, brainstorming, design layouts, and probably most importantly, the imagination of the creators, our teams. So you can start to break down the elements. Maybe. There we go. You can start to break down the elements, and each piece combines to make a cohesive imaginative part of the world. I think the funnest part for us is when we get to start brainstorming, taking the layout, and then come up with the ideas like these. As the 2D layout is created, it's the dungeon's responsibility to interpret what the frame is going to look like. I emphasize how transitory our dungeons can be. The end result is by far much more spectacular than what we first came up with, and that's saying something from those concepts. It's a little before and after shots, just the block out, and then the final version. So the dungeon team gathers reference from many resources. I'm having a hard time here. There we go. We take our research very seriously, and we like to study to make sure the colors work, get the right set of textures and materials. So easy, just go down to the old Home Depot. As well as making sure the structure fits with the culture kit. We also have to make sure that the scale is correct, so that every character, whether you're a gnome, a human, a blood elf, got to make sure that they fit through the door as well as be able to navigate the play space in the dungeon. We also like to draw what inspires us. Spikes. And we like to give each other feedback, usually very maturely. Take it well. I think one of the challenges we faced when we started working on Skywall, again, one of the new dungeons in Cataclysm, was how to make the buildings look like they floated and were emerging from the clouds. This idea created an effect that was made specifically for Skywall Dungeon. Here's some of the concepts. So awesome. So although it may look strange in the 3D program, the effect in the game gave us the look we were trying to go for. Our modeler went back and forth with the programmers to get just the right look, and a lot of trial and error. But I think they were pretty successful. The destructive force of Cataclysm gave us an opportunity to remodel 2 of our main cities, Orgrimmar and Stormwind. So we donned on our hard hats and went to work recreating Orgrimmar. Here's just a couple of before and after shots. You'll notice we kept the spikes in, probably added more to it, I'd say, by 120%. It's a little better. So as a dungeon lead, I like to encourage my guys to really involve themselves in the dungeon creation process, and hopefully that comes across when you play our dungeons. That's it. Thank you.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. My name is Gary Plattner. I'm the lead environment artist. On the environment team, our responsibility is for the exterior parts of the world. We're responsible for all the natural elements and all the things that make up all of that. So we have a lot of great tools that do that, a lot of great painting tools, and our editor is wonderful. But you have to keep in mind that every zone we've ever done is basically, it's not procedural. That means everything is pretty much done by hand. So when we start a new zone, we want to make sure that the entire zone looks as though one guy painted it, like it's a painted picture by one person, so it looks natural. Because when we start a new zone, we basically have nothing. We have a few Illustrator maps, but what we want to get and what we want to start with is a concept piece. This is our roadmap for the zone.
one of the most exciting parts of my job is to paint some of the concept images for the new zones that we develop. For example, Gilneas was one of my favorites. We wanted to make this place a home for the Worgen, and so the type of characters and culture that we had talked about needed to be kind of reflected in that environment. So, you know, my feeling was it should be kind of cold and rainy, forested, and kind of gloomy, like those werewolf movies that you've seen. Old New England, Sleepy Hollow, that kind of Salem witch hunt type of thing. I also wanted to bring in, some German Black Forest kind of imagery to create kind of a gloomy place. You know, even though it's an alliance race, we wanted to give a little bit of spookiness, a little bit of kind of a Halloween flavor.
When we were starting Cataclysm, we realized there was so much stuff that we wanted to correct from the old game that we never had a chance to when we first shipped the game, and now that we have more technology and more tools available, we can go back now with this expansion and correct a lot of things that we always wanted to. One of the tasks we were planning to work on was the element trees for the starting area for the humans. And for that particular zone, we decided to overhaul the tree style, but also try to keep it in tune with the original element trees, so there's not a big contrast. So players that appreciate the old world can still hop in and feel like nothing's changed, but something looks nicer, and they don't know what it is.
One of the most difficult parts of making any of these zones is the lighting. It's very hard to do. I had to light everything with this light spheres that were difficult to move and hard to save. No zone is circular, so I just asked one of our programmers if I could just outline a zone and attach a light to it. And he said, you know what, I think we can do that. And he came up with this great tool where here you can see Kalimdor, where I could just outline a zone and attach a light to it and throw some light spheres in there if I wanted to. This is huge for me. I thought it'd be kind of cool to show that off. Big change. Another big change we have is something we call live update, where here we are, I can paint inside the editor, but I can also see it happening live in-game at the same time. This is
previously
huge.
we would have to build the train, then get a build of the game, and then finally go run around in the train. Now we can simply
Technically.
push and pull mountains up and down while we have a character sitting right on top of the mountain or beside it, and we can instantly get that relationship. So it's been extremely useful just for setting up vistas, for creating POIs, landmarks, all of that sort of thing. It just gives us a really quick way to get feedback on what we're doing, and since we are building such large-scale features, I mean, it's just great. You know, we're moving huge amounts of terrain and geometry around. It's nice to have such immediate feedback.
Gus there was painting on something called a Cintiq. We also get to do all of the loading screens for any of the dungeons. We also get to do the character creation screens, and this year we got to do the login screen.